Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Contemplations. Today, I want to talk about why I create and my creating evolution. So, first off, the reason why I create in general, why I have been doing this ever since college, so about 5 years ago, I'd say, is because there is something that happens to you when you go upon life and what I would see as reach a certain vibration that you consistently hold where in that vibration, there's so much energy from you that wants to come through you that creating is the way to do so. And for some, that's with music. For some, that's writing. For some, that's videos like this. I think it can be creative on the basketball court. You can be creative in a million different ways. And if you don't allow that creation to come through, your being feels clogged. You feel like there's a part of yourself that you're not expressing. This is why, when we hear a friend or family of ours is getting into painting or getting into dancing or singing, a part of us knows like that is a great thing. That is an improvement to their life. There's something about creating that it takes a certain vibration to be in. You have to have enough space in your life. You have to be doing relatively okay to be able to take something that wasn't there just a minute ago and to make it into this reality that takes a certain vibration. And so over the past 5 years, that has been my life and my evolution. And as myself and now my fiance Elle have been on this path together, we keep on reaching a higher and higher vibration to where more and more wants to be created through us. And that is rapidly evolving how we see life, rapidly evolving how we spend our day to day, because at a certain vibration, it pretty much feels like everything you do is going to be some form of a creation. Now, again, it could be videos like this, it could be writing. For us, we look at the boardwalks are now worldwide community in 20 different cities where people have deep chats for 5 miles every Saturday across the world. That is also our form of creation and community building. There's so much that we're going on, but everything we do is creative. And that's made our lives look very different from the average person because most people are still in a vibration of consumption. It's where all they're doing all day is going from a place of reactivity, whether it's to their phone or to the TV or to the boss or whatever. But once you move into creativity and you know what that feels like, it now feels like the measurement of the quality of your life comes down to how much you're allowing yourself to create. And right now, it feels like a next chapter of that is coming. So, ever since Elle and I met and we knew that we were meant to be on this journey together, we just started creating with no logistical need for it. I'll give you a perfect example. We created a podcast called Listen Before Love. It's over 40 super high quality, high production, studio level with the fancy intro and outro and all the other things podcast about romantic relationships and what you should listen to before you actually attract love in your life, whether that's romantically or just more love with your family, your friends, everyone you're around, your coworkers. And we had so many different episodes where we dove deep into specific topics and we loved it. We loved every part of it. But what made it so different from us in comparison to others is that we didn't really do it for any particular reason. Like it just kind of was like, this needs to be made and we don't know what's going to come of it, but we just know we need to make this, which is a lot different from other people who create in that same modality, whether it's a podcast or just content online, because oftentimes that content fills an equation for what they want more of, right? So if a lawyer wants more clients, he's going to start posting about his client wins. He's going to start posting about updates on new laws that his potential clients should know about. He's going to create a profile. He's going to create a online footprint that leads to solve for X, which is land more clients and oftentimes make more money. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfect. That's a business. And a lot of content, a lot of creations, especially on social media and all these other platforms, is leading people to buy a product or service. And then again, that's perfect. But for Elle and I, that was never really the intention. There was something that we noticed that we can only now really bring words to is when you spend years knowing you're almost ready to create something, you want to try something new, you want to bring something to the world, but you almost feel handcuffed by your own fear, which oftentimes looks like expectations of others of what would they think and how would that go and all these other things. Once you finally break free of those handcuffs, we've noticed it's almost like a pendulum or a spectrum. You go from one side to where you've been creating nothing, like the average person, the 99% of people, to the complete opposite side, to where you're just now in this free flow, very feminine side. Just let it be chaotic. Just put it out there. This isn't for them. This is for me. Let's just do this to the maximum. And that's the place we were in for a very, very long time. This newsletter and these videos that you've seen on this channel previously is that. It is my own creative expression. I just wanted to be put out there in that way, which has been perfect how it is. And I love that. Listen Before Love was that. Like I just mentioned, we had another, I wouldn't even call it different pod. It was the same podcast, different playlist on that podcast. It's more Whimsy World, where it was called Whimsy World, to where we just talk about a myriad of different topics, oftentimes our personal life, what was going on, and sharing that very freely. And it got very deep, very vulnerable. And that was also just fantastic and amazing. That being said, we've reached the point to where there's so much more creativity that wants to come through us. But the difference is now we're stepping into a chapter to where that creativity is going to have aim. So once you now in your system know that, hey, I'm going to let myself create, I'm going to make it a priority in my life, that is when you begin to feel comfortable enough in this vibration, in this nervous system regulated state, to allow yourself to expand and look at your creations less of something we're doing for our own selves. And hopefully whoever as a byproduct sees it out there and benefits from it, fantastic. You do it less from that and more of like, okay, if I am truly mastering creativity in the realms that I deeply enjoy right now, let me now step into a chapter to where it's pinpointed with aim on the exact group of people I'm trying to help. Now, we've recognized we are always going to have some section of our creativity, at least 20%, probably closer to 50%, that is simply just us continuing to express ourselves in whatever way deems fit. More than likely, that's going to be some form of this newsletter behind a paywall. That's what it looks like for me at this moment. The rest of everything else we recognized recently, whether it's posting on Instagram or YouTube videos or just everything, the products we make is now, we got to look at it as if it's a business, as if it's a funnel, pretty much. And I don't see anything necessarily wrong with that. Of course, in the past, like there's been a big limiting belief around, like, you got to keep the art pure. You can't put money. It's like, yeah, maybe, but also people, like, money is just an energy exchange. And if people are ready to pay you for a product, whether it's a course that we have that is deep diving into how to set proper boundaries and all the different types of relationships in your life, or for myself, I created a system to automate food called Automate Food Forever that allows people to pretty much never have to think about food again and just have high quality meals made by a chef, professional chef, that still costs less than Chipotle to have be delivered to their house every single week. If they don't have to think about food, so they can focus on all these other things like creativity, whatever. I've created systems like that, and that's a lot of value that I have originated into the world, and therefore it should be, able to be, paid for. I guess I should be paid for that. So there's a huge part of that I think we are beginning to understand in terms of commerce and creativity. Those two go hand in hand. And I've recognized now that it is the time for us to know that we are infinite beings and that we can create whatever we so please. So let's now meet people where they are at. Let's now create things that are the hottest topics in the world. We personally, I feel as if, deeply understand through trial and error of our own lives, and also creating now one of the world's fastest growing in-person events. We've learned so much about human connection. We've learned so much about boundaries. We've learned so much about just relationships as a whole in many different ways. And it's time for us to now be of service by meeting people where they're at, meeting them with the problems they currently have, and through our own embodiment, through our own experience, offering ideas that can potentially be the solution for them, that can solve them a lot of pain and suffering. and that could raise their own vibration, that is the next chapter we're stepping into. And so what that looks like tangibly is on my YouTube, on Spotify, so the podcast, for a lot of potentially these newsletters that aren't the deeper contemplative content, that'll be more of my creative playground. A lot of the other things are going to be very particular in who they're trying to reach, who it's trying to help, who it's trying to connect with, to where every single tweet, every single thread, every single LinkedIn post, all these things are going to have intentions behind it that will bring people closer to a container that allows for them to grow from our knowledge and experience to whatever level they so please. Now, most people are just going to consume the content. That's fantastic. Some, if they're ready to step into their power and invest in a program, whether it's a course or potentially a retreat or potentially a workshop of some sort or whatever. There's a million things that we know are coming soon that already, most of them already been built, that we begin to sequentially release when they're ready. It's become very clear to us that a lot of our energy is best used if we pinpoint exactly what the people that are primed for those products and services are ready to hear and help them get to the point where they make the energetic investment to actually transform their lives the better. So it's like this unique, I would say, the pendulum spectrum I was talking about earlier, to where we went from one side, which is no creation at all, fearful of it, to now the complete opposite side, to where like, let's just express no matter what, no intentions, we don't need them to buy anything, sell anything, we're just doing it, to now in the middle ground, to where we're still having some creations that are just purely energy that's wanting to come through us, messages, ideas, just talking about our lives, just having fun in that way. But then also met with the more masculine structure of this content has purpose. This content is meant to lead someone somewhere. This content isn't the last thing they're going to be consuming from us. Let's take them on a path. Let's take them on a journey. And that's something we're really excited about, because of course, not only will that allow for us to be reciprocated and to live a fantastic life while continuing to create every single day in a million different ways, but it also allows us to deeply serve people to the level which they deserve to be served, to the level which we know we can serve them. And it just feels like a beautiful, harmonious relationship that's beginning to form in many different capacities to whatever level people are ready for, and allows for us to have very good boundaries of like, hey, if you want to connect with us in this way, if you want to learn this thing, I have a product for that. That's the way to do it. If you want to do this with us, you want to do this with us, here is the avenue for that. And it makes our life a whole lot less messy and very, very clean. So it's something we're quite excited about. And it's been unique navigating that. Of course, this is happening because I've now created enough space in my life to understand what the blueprint of everything we've been doing with media, everything we've been doing with coaching, retreats, and consulting in all forms. Those avenues are becoming very clear, especially at this moment when the memberships for the boardwalks, the in-person event for the boardwalks, the sponsorships for the boardwalks, the merchandise for boardwalks is beginning to be really fulfilled and built out in a really good place. Now it's more off of my awareness. I'm receiving the information, the downloads, to create this avenue to where it meets people right where they're at. It meets people to see what they're ready for. And this, one of the fun things we're really excited about is more likely going to be social commentary. We're going to like make reviews and reflections off of the most recent Ted Lasso episode and Married at First Sight and Love is Blind. All these things, these shows that Elle and I love to watch just to learn more about human nature and really just understand to a deeper level how people react in certain ways, sharing our nuanced takes in ways that every person in America, every housewife, every person that consumes those shows would probably love to hear, which there's already huge audiences around just reacting to those episodes. And so we're going to dabble in that while also dabbling in so many other aspects in fields that we feel very competent in. So it's just a really fun time to where we're really bringing a lot more structure and organization to understanding that it's time to meet people where they're at and create the products and services to deeply serve them. It feels like we're creating like a legit media company, consulting business, global movement in a way that has never been done before, in a way that we're really, really excited about. So this is something I've always like knew, like I innately knew the feeling of how this would feel my whole life. I've always knew this is what I was going to be doing. But now the stars are really aligning and it's happening. So that's something I'm very, very excited about. And again, like I hinted at last week, this newsletter in particular is going to shift and evolve with these upcoming evolutions of creativity that are taking place within us. And it'll all be perfect. It'll all be beautiful. So thanks again for watching, y'all. Hope you enjoyed. Please feel free to like and subscribe to this channel on this video, wherever you're currently watching it. And look forward to seeing you again soon. Love y'all. Peace.